What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that.
News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg he wants a gag order on Donald Trump in the criminal trial. Two previous gag orders in Trump cases, the New York civil fraud trial and federal election interference case, were upheld on appeal. So the New York DA wants a gag order on Donald Trump, hush money then in that case, in order to protect witnesses, he says. So this is something we see a lot. The prosecutors don't like Trump out there talking about what's going on. Also, Donald Trump then yesterday also appealed a judge's decision ordering him to pay more than $450 million in that New York Attorney General civil fraud case. So that was, and we've talked about it, at the decision by Judge Engeron earlier this month. So pretty big blow to Trump, bars him from serving in a leadership role in any New York business for 3 years, ordering independent officials then to monitor Trump's companies. And he's appealing then that the ruling, this is higher, the total here is higher than what I've seen before, $454 million. Wow. Also, both President Joe Biden and Donald Trump will make stops at the U.S.-Mexico border coming up this Thursday. They'll both be there. So President Biden will be visiting Brownsville, Texas this week. And Fox, I don't believe this. He may take executive action to curb the ongoing crisis. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't believe that for 1 minute. So he will visit on Thursday. And it's the same day that Trump then is scheduled to go. So Biden will go. He's expected to travel to Brownsville, Texas. He'll meet with U.S. Border Patrol agents, as well as local leaders, law enforcement. And then Trump that day will deliver remarks in Eagle Pass, Texas. We've talked about Eagle Pass a lot. It's kind of the eye of the whole illegal hurricane is at Eagle Pass. So Brownsville and Eagle Pass are about 325 miles apart. So it's not like they're going to be shoulder to shoulder down at the border, but they'll both be there on Thursday. Also, President Joe Biden is continuing the call for the U.S. to supply Ukraine with more assistance. In a statement, he said, I'm announcing more than 500 new sanctions against Russia for its ongoing war of conquest on Ukraine, and for the death of Alexei Navalny, who was a courageous anti-corruption activist and Putin's fiercest opposition leader. Do you know what happens to opposition leaders in this country? You go to jail. That's what happens to opposition leaders in this country. You go to jail. Ask Donald Trump. Also, hazmat teams responded to the home of Donald Trump Jr. yesterday. He opened his mail and discovered threats and a white powder then inside an envelope. So the letter contained a death threat. He shared a copy of the letter with the Daily Caller, which published a photo of it. So if you want more details, Daily Caller is a place to go. That's one of the websites that comes up often, where they report real news. The U.S. Supreme Court yesterday explored free speech rights when it comes to social media companies So laws in Florida and Texas restrict the ability of social media platforms then to curb content that those companies deem objectionable. And, I think it's understandable to a point, but what we have seen is that social media content moderation has been weaponized against those of a certain political view, specifically conservatives, who find themselves targeted by that. Comments. I think my producer John can attest to that. He and I have spoken privately about that. I don't think I'm giving anything away here. I don't. But comments that have been squelched by conservatives, whereas there is no moderation taking place then against those who are on the left. So we'll see what happens. Supreme Court heard those arguments yesterday. Hunter Biden did an interview that was published yesterday, and he said that staying clean, as you know, he's battled with cocaine usage and other issues, addiction issues. And so Hunter Biden said that it's really important that he stay clean. It's vital because I have something much bigger than even myself at stake, he said. And he told Axios, he said, we are in the middle of a fight for the future of democracy. You have to believe that you're worth the work or you'll never be able to get sober. But I often do think of the profound consequences of failure here. So his sobriety is important to the future of democracy. Does this guy hear himself? I mean, seriously, that's a question I ask all the time. Do these people actually hear themselves? Do they know what they're saying? That's Looney Tunes. We're going to revisit that Looney Tunes in the news today, later this morning. This is a sad story. Authorities in Grenada said 2 Americans are believed to have been killed after their yacht was hijacked by prison escapees. And a sailing club now has identified the 2 Americans. It's Kathy Brendel and Ralph Hendry. They're a couple from Virginia. So they were spending the winter cruising the Eastern Caribbean. They'd sailed their yacht from Hampton to Antigua. And police in Grenada say they have 3 men in custody after they escaped from prison, and they may have killed the couple. And according to reports, apparently dumped their bodies overboard. So it's very unlikely they'll ever be found. Also, AT&T says it will credit customers for a full day of service. For that, there was a 10-hour outage this past Thursday, affected more than 70,000 users, and AT&T said it was the right thing to do. So they will credit people. I think it winds up being like $5, but that's a full day of service. And the CEO of AT&T said, I believe this approach is fully manageable while achieving their business objectives and so on. And so there was a lot of outrage about that. Also, a spokesperson for Taylor Swift is addressing reports that her father was involved in an altercation with an Australian photographer. And her representative told People that, two individuals were aggressively pushing their way toward Taylor, grabbing at her security personnel, threatening to throw a female staff member into the water. And Australia's Sky News reported that her father had been accused of assaulting this photographer. So the spokespeople are addressing that issue. Also, Nikki Haley has vowed to continue her presidential campaign. That story's still trending this morning. So she's talking to supporters in Michigan on Sunday. And that was a day after we talked about this at length yesterday. But not too much. I just don't think, despite the focus on that story by Fox News Radio, I'm talking about. So despite their incessant focus on that, I just don't. Seriously, given the other news of the day, who cares? Who cares? Sweden has cleared a final hurdle in order to join NATO. So Hungary was the last hurdle. Hungary then approves Sweden joining, so Sweden will join NATO after Hungary ratifies this. So NATO membership will end Sweden's long military non-alignment. Also, Texas Governor Greg Abbott over the weekend said that frozen embryos should be considered human beings. So he made the remarks on an interview Sunday on CNN State of the Union with Dana Bash. And he was asked, do you agree that embryos are human beings? And he said, well, listen, obviously, there's some uncertainty lingering from this, but candidly, let's go back to President Trump, because President Trump put out a statement on this that I think a lot of people agree with, and that it's a goal that we want, that we all kind of want to achieve. And that is, we want to make it easier for people to be able to have babies, not make it harder. And he's talking about in vitro fertilization, and he said, and the IFE process is a way of giving life to even more babies, Abbott said. It's been a big story of the last few days. Also, authorities in Wisconsin continuing, the search effort over the weekend. Some of these stories are dated. By the time as they're trending, they're already dated. But this is a 3-year-old boy who was reported missing then. And the local community has responded to this. The child's mother has been arrested, along with the male acquaintance. And this 3-year-old boy was last seen at last Tuesday. So it's just and she apparently sent her son to go to this male acquaintance for disciplinary reasons. God only knows what that means. Likely we will learn. That's been a big story. Wendy's has been trending. Did you see this? That Wendy's is plotting they're calling it's a new menu, and it'll be kind of based a little bit, modeled on Uber. And those of you who are familiar with Uber know that at surge times, during times of peak demand, they'll charge more. So Wendy's is considering this. And I thought, you have got to be kidding. Seriously? Because it's busy, then they're going to charge you more. And so their burger prices then will fluctuate depending on the demand. And this is not being well received by many. There's a story at sportskita.com. Ruin your business 101. Wendy's surge pricing plan sparked backlash online. Well, you can imagine. Absolutely. So this was introduced by the CEO of Wendy's. This was an earnings call that he was doing then and earlier this month, and he confirmed that the surge pricing is part of a number of features that are going to be laid out by Wendy's. Surge pricing. So the price then will fluctuate depending on if you pull up to a Wendy's, you got a lot of people in line, and they're hustling to try to get the price goes up. You know what I say to that? I can't tell you what my response would be. Seriously, I can't verbalize what my response would be to that. It's would not be good. No. It's candidly, I'm just not a fast food eater anymore. Anyway, I just don't. Very rarely. I'm not saying I never have fast food. I very rarely have fast food. And I'm telling you, I was a guy who was always having fast food. I used to eat fast food, I don't know, one time probably 4 or 5, maybe 5, 4 or 5 times a week having fast food. Now, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. I'm not joking. I just don't have it. Since I lost the weight and I changed the way I eat and what I eat and how often I eat, I've changed all that. And I feel better than I have in years, my friends. So that story about Wendy's, oh, man. Also, finally then this morning, Sean Diddy Combs was sued Monday in federal court, being accused of sexual harassment and assault by a producer on his latest album. And those are the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery.